How we doing, guys? Sam back in English with you, doing a little tackle talk for you. So pickerel fishing is right around the corners. As our water temps begin to cool in the rivers, we start targeting these fish a lot more. They can certainly be caught during the summer months, but they definitely seem to be a little bit more active and maybe just more available fish to fish for in the colder months. So there's a bunch of different lures that you can catch these fish on. I'm going to talk to you about like 3 or 4 different techniques, I would say, that I like to use for them. Starting out with just my bread and butter, and that is small swim baits. Little paddle tails in the 3 to 4 inch size are really hard to beat. There's tons of different ways you can rig them. Early in the season when there's a lot of grass around, I tend to rig them weedless on like a 3 to 5/0, depending on the size bait you're fishing, weedless swim bait hook. Usually a little bit of weight, like a 1/16 or a 1/8 will help you get down a little bit. You can cast these around shorelines. You can fish them towards the end of piers. They're super versatile bait. You can cover a lot of water with them. If I could really only have one group of lures, that would be it. Now, as that grass begins to fade a little bit and we start to move into the October and November months and all the way through towards the January, February time, I tend to like to rig them on jig heads with the exposed hook. I seem to get a little bit better hookups with them. 3/16 is definitely the most popular, but sometimes I'll go down to a 1/8 if I'm fishing really, really shallow, but 3/16 is a great starting point. Another thing when that grass starts to fade that really becomes productive are jerk baits. Usually in the smaller size. These are the little X-Wraps here. These are the 8 size, is my favorite, but there's also tons of other brands, Megabass, KVD. There's all sorts of different small jerk baits out there. These are phenomenal bait, especially when the water gets cool. It's kind of a reaction bait that you can fish during those colder months and still get those bites on. Usually like a jerk pause. I'm moving them pretty quickly, and when I pause is where I get most of my bites. So as the water gets colder, that pause becomes longer, but truly my rotation of jerk pause, it's kind of the same thing. I just kind of speed it up or slow it down depending on, water quality and stuff like that. Another great group of lures to have is small spinners. So a classic MEPS number 3 is really, really hard to beat. I tend to do really well too on some of the super rooster tails. The super rooster tails are the bigger one that has the arm that comes up off of the main bait itself. Those are super productive for me as well. I tend to like to fish those when the water is really, really cold. For whatever reason, they still seem to bite it even though you're moving it. It's really hard to beat when that water temp gets really, really cold. And if it's truly ice cold, it's really hard to beat fishing a minnow. I usually fish them on a jig. You can fish them underneath of a bobber, which certainly works. I tend to do a lot better pickerel fishing when I can cover lots of water. So just like a small shad dart or any sort of jig with some hair tied on it, and the like 1/8 to 1/16 size is usually my go-to. And I'll just tip that with a minnow. And truly, I'll fish it almost like I'd fish a paddle tail as far as real, little jigs here and there, but I just really slow that down, and that's how I get a lot of my bites. So there's a lot of different techniques to use. These are just some of my favorites, and I hope you guys have a great pickerel season.